Want to listen to this episode ad-free? Head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and get a free trial for the ITBR professor level. And you can actually watch this episode as a video episode as well. While you're at it, did you know that on Spotify, we now have a subscription service for $10 a month? You get access to all of our ad-free episodes plus any bonus episodes. So make sure that you rate, review, and follow the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And follow Mary DePippi's show, True Crime in Academia, at True Crime in Academia. Thank you all for your support, and without further ado, here's today's episode.
Hey, true crime friends. Welcome back to another episode of True Crime in Academia. I am your host, Mary DePippi. I know we're a little day late here. I had a lot of stuff going on with work that I had to take care of and stuff. So, I just had to push things back a little bit, to make it all work. But no worries, we are here today. I hope you are enjoying your Sunday and, getting yourself ready for this upcoming work week. And that you all really enjoyed your weekends. Just a couple of things before we get into the news update. Don't forget to follow True Crime in Academia on social media at True Crime in Academia on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And at TC in Academia on Twitter/X. Also, if you would like to listen to this episode ad-free, go to patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And for the price of a cup of coffee, you can become a subscriber. So, without any further ado, I'm sorry, I know I really don't have that much to talk about today, other than that work was busy. So, let's get into the news update, okay? Also, I just want to point it out, I hate this news update. There was literally nothing in the news that was slightly positive. It was just all... and yes, is that what it normally is? Of course. But usually, some of the crimes usually aren't as horrific or, I don't know. I just have a lot of feels about this news update this week. And, again, as I was kind of trying to go through all the cases that I had brought to my attention over the week, I kind of just picked the 3 that were the most stomachable because there were others that were just not okay. And with that, I'm just I hate it here. I hate it here. I hate it here. I hate it here. So, last Saturday in Chicago, gunfire broke out at an outdoor family gathering. Eyewitnesses stated that around 9:18 p.m., a black sedan pulled up to the party before the occupants of the vehicle opened fire on the attendees without warning. 10 people were injured, including 2 children, a 1-year-old and an 8-year-old. Sadly, there was one casualty. 9-year-old Ariana Molina suffered a gunshot wound to the head. She was rushed to Comer Children's Hospital, where she was pronounced dead. Deputy Chief Police Don Jerome stated that they suspect, quote, "this is not a random act of violence," end quote, and believe this horrific act was committed by 2 people, and this whole thing was possibly gang-related or motivated. Now, as of this recording, as far as I know, no arrests have been made. Jose Molina, Ariana's father, along with Ariana's mother, were among the other 8 that were injured in the shooting. Of his daughter, he stated that she was, quote, "wonderful and helpful and was everything to him," end quote. I have said my piece many other times about my positions on gun control and things like that, and I'm not going to re-bring them up here. But again, it's just ugh. This is just, it sucks. This is our fucking reality in this country because we all can't get our shit together. It's just, oh my God, pisses me off. On that note, with the people in this country needing to get their shit together, 3 women were turned away at emergency rooms recently, and all 3 pregnancies ended in death or prematurely because of it. Now, in Texas, a woman miscarried in an ER lobby restroom after being refused to being checked in at that same hospital called Sacred Heart Emergency Center. Her husband had to call an ambulance in order for his wife, who was actively miscarrying, to receive any sort of care while they are in the fucking lobby to get checked in, to try and get checked in, but they're being refused at the fucking hospital. In North Carolina, a woman gave birth in her car after being refused an ultrasound at Person Memorial Hospital. She was on her way to another hospital when she had to pull over and give birth, and sadly, her infant died soon after. And at Holmes Regional Medical Center in Florida, a woman learned that her fetus no longer had a heartbeat after being turned away the day before by a security guard because she had to bring her other child with her. Sadly, these stories are not just isolated incidents. This is what is happening in this country because of Roe v. Wade. And there has been a spike since 2020. Since this has been reversed, these problems have been happening. These horrific medical emergencies that turn fatal, usually for the infant and the fetus, are what is happening to women who want to have these babies. I mean, the reasoning behind it is obvious. It's because doctors at the emergency center, even if they have OBGs, which sometimes they don't, they're fucking scared to treat them because of the reversal. And they're actually scared of whether or not they're going to get their license provoked or revoked. Sorry, not provoked. I am provoked. Get their licenses revoked or worse, like get sued at like oblivion because or arrested. You know, like they have no options, and it's really unfortunate. So there's a lot more information from ABC News, the source that I got this from. So if you want to go to the show notes at the very bottom, you can look at it. It's infuriating, yet it's educational. But if you live in a conservative state and, you know, are planning to or, you know, pregnant or whatever, you know, just understand that this is something that's happening and it's not okay. But given what the circumstances are, like, at least having the information and knowing, you know, I think could also be helpful as well. And lastly, because if pregnant women and children weren't enough in the news this week, animals also had to come into play because assholes just can't stop themselves. In North Carolina, state officials are investigating an incident caught on video around 3 p.m. Tuesday, April 16th. A group of individuals, I will say mostly of women, I saw the video, were seen pulling 2 black bear cubs from a tree branch hanging around the perimeter of an Asheville apartment complex and taking pictures with them. These individuals, including one extremely overzealous woman who actually screeched when she got one of the cubs, actually chased after one of the cubs when it attempted to run away. Now, the woman responsible for taking these videos is also an apartment resident, and her name is Rachel Stout. Now, she said that she had told the group to leave the cubs alone, but, of course, were ignored. So she did the only thing she knew that she could do to hopefully help the situation at some point. You know, she recorded them. She then informed maintenance, who called the police. The Buncombe County Sheriff's Office responded to the call, and after assessing the situation, they contacted the State Wildlife Commission. When the Wildlife Commission arrived, they were only able to locate one of the cubs. The cub was found in a retention pond in the complex, wet, cold, and favoring its front paw. Ashley Hobbs, a special projects biologist who responded to the scene because she works with the wildlife committee, she explained that during this time in like of the year and just in general for bear cycle life things, the mother bear will normally leave her cubs somewhere safe, like in a tree, while she goes to forage for food and then will come back and get her cubs. Now, obviously, this isn't just like a quick rundown to ShopRite or to Wegmans or wherever your grocer is, you know. This is something that can take up to several hours, you know. So it's completely normal in a sense that Mama Bear wasn't around while this was all happening. But again, that doesn't mean you go around fucking traumatizing these innocent little babies. Now, although it would have been so satisfying for me anyway, like, oh my God, just so satisfying for them to have gotten Mama Bear's wrath. They were, however, identified, and Ashley Hobbs was able to speak to all of them and gave them a really stern talking to, basically yelled at them, and told them about the dangers of human and wild animal interaction, such as this fucking stunt that they pulled, you know? So, I mean, it doesn't seem like anything else is going to be happening as far as charges. I don't know. Again, it looks like police are still investigating this. But, you know, at least, you know, at the very least, they got a stern talking to. And I hope that they understand how dangerous this is. But not even just to them, but, like, they hurt that poor baby. Like, because of what they did. Like, I don't care if his injury was a result from him trying to run away or whatever. Like, I don't care. The fact that they even tried to take him from where he was in the where they were from in the first place is just oh my God. Just for picture, like, oh my God. You couldn't have just taken a picture of the adorable little babes in their tree from where they were. Like, you had to literally pull them out and get a picture. I can't. Like I said, the one cub was not ever found. Hopefully it made its way back to mom. I really hope so. But the other cub that they pulled from the pond, of course, is now orphaned, but is being treated at the Appalachian Wildlife Refuge. So the poor baby will be okay. It's just, you know, again, none of this needed to fucking happen because people are fucking stupid. I can't. This is America, people. I don't understand anymore. I give up. I do. Oh my God. All right. That's enough of me. Let's take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we are going to get into part 2 of the Kobe Cannibal, Issei Sagawa, and the horrific murder of Renee Hartevelt.
Are you looking for a new magazine to read where you can get so many book, film, and TV recommendations? Well, then you need to check out the Gay and Lesbian Review. The G&LR is a bi-monthly magazine of history, culture, and politics that publishes essays in a wide range of disciplines, as well as a slew of reviews of books, plays, and movies, and a number of special features. Each issue brings you consistently intelligent, lively, thought-provoking articles focused on a unifying theme. So, for example, their new issue for May and June is called The Celluloid Fishbowl. And it's a nod to Vito Russo's 1981 book called The Celluloid Closet, which documented the flashes of LGBT content in movies before Stonewall when such content was strictly forbidden. So there's so many exciting articles in the May and June issue, including one by Andrew White called Queer Ghosts on Oscar Night that covers so many different LGBTQ films, both when the characters come out of the closet and what happens when characters are already openly queer and they don't need to come out of the closet, like we're seeing with so much of TV and film and literature right now. There's also an article by Andrew Holleran, the acclaimed writer of Dancer from the Dance, who actually reviews All of Us Strangers, which I can't wait to watch and has been much talked about. So please make sure that you use the Ivory Tower Boiler Room code ITBR50 when you go on glreview.org. You'll see on the right side it says subscribe. You can either subscribe for their digital edition, or if you're like me, I like to still get the magazine delivered as a print magazine. There's nothing just like having a print magazine in front of you. So use ITBR50 to get 50% off of your G&LR subscription. Yes, that's 50% off. So enjoy your reading. And please, if you are subscribing to the Gay and Lesbian Review, and if there's an article you really enjoyed, or a review you really liked, or a guest that you really want me to interview from the Gay and Lesbian Review, make sure that you DM me at Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Happy reading, everyone. And thank you to the Gay and Lesbian Review for their sponsorship. LGBT stories are universal, but each one speaks to the individual heart and soul of the writer telling it. Do you have a story to tell? Or have you been moved by an LGBT book, film, painting, television show, or other form of media? Then the Gay and Lesbian Review wants to hear from you. The GNLR believes in bringing awareness to queer art and artists through reviews, commentary, and thought pieces in which the author relates their personal lives to a particular piece of art, a novel, a movie. In addition to the print magazine, the GNLR also publishes articles on its blog. So you can see all of this on glreview.org. That's glreview.org. Remember, you get 50% off your subscription of the GL Review magazine when you use the promo code ITBR50. That's 50% off your print or digital subscription when you use promo code ITBR50. To learn more about submitting an article for the GNLR, visit their writer's guidelines. The link is located at the bottom of their homepage. And if you have any questions, email Stephen Hemrick. That's STEPHEN dot HEMRICK at glreview.org. The GNLR and its readers can't wait to see what you have to say. Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and I'm really excited to talk to you all about one of our ITBR sponsors, Broadview Press. Broadview Press is an independent academic publisher in the humanities that produces high quality, pedagogically useful books for use in university and college classrooms. They publish mainly in English studies, writing, philosophy, and history. They are always publishing with an eye towards diversity, building a strong list of titles from women, people of color, and authors from other marginalized groups. If you haven't heard my Broadview Press interviews, you need to. Recently, I just had on Dr. Shannon Day, who talked about her book, Beyond the Binary, Thinking About Sex and Gender. And in the summer, I had on Dr. Jason Holt, who gave us all a comprehensive history of what it means to be a philosopher who studies sporting culture. And of course, we went back to ancient Greek literature, mythology, history to look at the roots of athleticism. And last year, I had on Dr. Jeffrey Andrew Weinstock, who's actually going to be coming on the podcast soon to give his thoughts on the new Fall of the House of Usher Netflix series. He talked all about pop culture for beginners. And Broadview Press is offering an exclusive discount because of our sponsorship. So head to broadviewpress.com, where you're going to see such a wide range of literature. Use the code Ivory Tower, IVORYTOWER, for 20% off site wide all of their books. Again, it's broadviewpress.com. Enjoy your reading.
On June 11th, 1981, a 32-year-old Issei Sagawa invited a classmate at Sorbonne over to his apartment for dinner and under the guise of working on a poetry translation assignment. This classmate was Renee Hartevelt, a 25-year-old Dutch woman who was a friend to Issei. Now, according to Issei, he said he had no intentions of studying, like I kind of hinted at, and he had every intention of killing her to eat her. When Renee arrived and sat down, she kind of opened her book at his desk and started reading, pretty much, I guess, after they exchanged pleasantries or whatever, and, kind of wanted to get started on the assignment while, I guess he was preparing dinner. I mean, to me, that makes sense. So as she's sitting down, she pulls out like I said, pulls out one of her poetry books and begins to read because, they're going to translate. And at this point, Issei pulls out his rifle and aims it at Renee. Now, some sources claim that it was one shot that killed poor Renee, and some said it was two. But either way, sadly, she died because of a gunshot wound to the neck. Now, in most cases, the horrificness would have just ended there. And, even though Renee did not deserve to die at all, obviously, that is number one here. Like, this never should have happened. And the fact that he did it in such a cowardly way, like, waited until her back was turned and could kill her, that, like, with a gun, so, like, yeah, it's so cowardly to me. But at the same time, I mean, it is a method that is supposed to be more instantaneous. So, and I hate to even be like, oh, it seems like kind, but like, because it's not. But what happens next is just beyond. But I am getting just a tad ahead of myself. So, Issei claims that after he kills her, he felt some sort of remorse and considered calling an ambulance. But obviously, those feelings were very short-lived. Issei went on to rape Renee's corpse before cutting and removing different parts of her and consuming her, taking pictures along the way. Like I said, beyond. And sadly, guys, like, that is just what is stomachable enough for me to tell you. Like, everything else that I know in my brain and that's contained in all of the resources or sources that I have at the bottom of the show notes. If you really want to know everything that he did in the parts and what, go for it. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to traumatize you all here. If you want to do that to yourself, please go right ahead, but I'm not going to. That's the gist, and that's, yeah. So, again, if all of this just wasn't bad enough, like, he's taking pictures of it, he's documenting it, which is just, again, horrid and extremely violating. I mean, again, all of it is. And what's worse is that he tries to, like, explain himself the entire time that, like, I'm not even going to repeat what he said because it's hard to stomach, for one. And two, he gets way too graphic with it. But the way that he tries to explain himself, it is just so degrading to Renee. And I just refuse to speak about her or any victim that way, even if it's just repeating what they have said. But again, like I said, if you want to read up on that yourself, it's all there. I got everything for you. You can also listen to the Red Handed podcast. They covered this case as well. So, you have options if you want to take a look at that. But so, what Issei didn't consume of Renee, he put in his refrigerator. And of course, a few days later, the smell of decomposition started to happen, as it does. So, of course, this made Issei realize that he needed to dispose of her body. He decided that he was going to place the remaining of Renee's body into 2 different suitcases and throw them into the lake at the Bois du Boulogne Park. I think I said that right. It has been so long since I've taken French, and I probably had to say that or know that at some point. But anyway, my brain hurts from this horrificness. So we're going to take a quick little commercial break. We'll finish up this 2-parter, and then Issei Sagawa can be out of our heads for the rest of our lives.
You've all heard me gush about Mandy Made It. Mandy Made It is a craft business, and it's actually owned by my friend Mandy Bengal, who I have known, Mary DePippi has known. We all actually became best friends in Main Stage Center for the Arts summer theater camp. So I'm so proud of Mandy. First, she has an arts festival coming up on April 28th. It's called the Gloucester Township Arts Market and Green Fair. There are going to be art vendors, craft vendors, including Mandy, food trucks. It sounds so much fun. I actually am thinking maybe I'm going to attend. So it's in South Jersey and it's April 28th, a Sunday from 10 to 3 p.m. So go over to at Mandy Made It to find out more information about how you can attend the festival. And please, if you see Mandy, say, oh, I listened to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and that's how I know about your crochet company. So she makes so many wonderful items, especially because we're in the spring into summer. I know that she makes beautiful spring flowers that she crochets. She's made wonderful Pokemon inspired items. I know that my boyfriend, he loves Pokemon Go, so this is a great item for him. I actually got my boyfriend a Mandy Made It Scream ghost face bouquet for Valentine's Day. He loved it. She makes wonderful Disney inspired items. She made me a Hocus Pocus bed and breakfast item, Snow White and the Evil Queen's poisoned apple item. I know she's made Mary DePippi so many true crime items. We're in talks right now to have her make some Ivory Tower Boiler Room crochet items. Make sure that you reach out to Mandy Made It. Let her know that you heard this ad on the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. She loves knowing that you're listening to her ad on the podcast. And also, she'll give you an exclusive item at Mandy Made It on Instagram and Facebook. Spring is definitely blooming here in Port Jefferson Village on Long Island. I'm so happy to talk about the Soapbox NY, a bath and body boutique that is co-owned by my really good friend, Janine Cucci. So Janine has not only been on the Ivory Tower Boiler Room podcast, and I'm sure will definitely continue to be on the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. She was on a Halloween episode where we talked about The Exorcist. And she actually was just on friend of the ITBR, Christian Garcia's show, That Old Gay Classic Cinema, to talk about Sunset Boulevard. So I asked Janine, could you please come up with 3 different spring scents from your blending bar? And of course, Janine gave me so many exciting ideas and fragrances. So if you don't know, the Soapbox NY has an exclusive blending bar, which has over 400 different essential oils that they can make customized fragrances for you. So here are the 3 spring fragrances. We have Peony Blush Suede, an exquisite floral with delicate rose and honey accents, and a subtle green freshness. Mimosa and Tonka is the second fragrance. Notes of sweet golden mimosa mixed with creamy tonka bean. That sounds delicious. The third is spring musk. Green and fresh with notes of bergamot, orange blossom, and neroli. A clean and fresh musk. So peony blush suede, mimosa and tonka, and spring musk are our 3 spring blending bar fragrances. So make sure that you tell Janine that you heard the ad on Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And you might be saying, but Andrew, I don't live on Long Island or even near Long Island. That's okay. The Soapbox NY has a website and you can order directly from their website to get any of these blending bar fragrances. And in the notes for your order, just make sure that you say, I really would like that peony blush suede fragrance as a shower gel, or the mimosa and tonka as a shampoo, or even the spring musk as a bubble bath. Don't worry, I'm going to ask Janine if I can try all of these 3 fragrances. So make sure you also follow the Soapbox NY on Instagram at the Soapbox NY and on TikTok at the Soapbox NY. And if you really don't know exactly what you want to order, DM Janine at the Soapbox NY on Instagram, and she'll make sure that you get one of these blending bar customized fragrances. I hope you all enjoy your bath and body products from the Soapbox NY. I absolutely love this store. Sorry for the podcast interruption, but this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and I wanted to talk to you all more about the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. So, I co founded ITBR almost 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years in August. And it started as a podcast. So, welcome, everyone who's listening to the podcast. This was my baby, and I'm going to continue offering the podcast to you all. I love all of the genres and categories that we have here in the ITBR, including Mary's True Crime and Academia show. So, not only is ITBR a podcast, but I also offer different consulting services. So, I have podcast consulting. So, if you're creating a podcast, you already are a podcaster and you want to expand your social media reach, especially you want to learn about TikTok, Instagram, X, different YouTube strategies, which I'm even building my YouTube show right now. Please reach out to me for consulting with your podcast. Or if you are a small business and you want me to help you with some ideas on how to up your social media game. I've really helped out the Soapbox NY in Port Jefferson on Long Island. You can definitely reach out to me about any small business social media marketing as well. And I also help with college admission essay editing. The season is coming soon. So, make sure you reach out to me. And already, if you want me to start helping consult on the college admission process, I'd be happy to. I also can help you with dissertation thesis editing. And I now am also self-publishing my dissertation. So I'm in the midst of editing too. So I'm in a good headspace to help with editing. Okay, if you want to book me for any of these services, all of my initial consultation meetings, the first hour is always $30 an hour. And I also have book club services with Ivory Tower Boiler Room. So there's been a wonderful group in the Ivory Tower Boiler Room who meet once a month. And right now there's a poll going out about two books, The Book of Gothel by Mary McMinn or Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates. So go to ivorytowerboilerroom.com and scroll down to events and make sure you fill out which book you want to read for the end of May. Okay, for any questions you have about my consulting or to contact me to book me, go to ivorytowerboilerroom.com or email me ivorytowerboilerroom@gmail.com or even message me at Ivory Tower Boiler Room on Instagram. Okay, back to the episode. So you all know that I am such a fan of musical theater and classic movies. So I can't wait for you all to listen to one of my good friends' podcasts. It's called That Old Gay Classic Cinema, hosted by Christian Garcia. It's a podcast that looks at classic cinema films that we know and love. And he was inspired by Turner Classic Movies and The Great Movie Ride. Remember that amazing ride where the Wicked Witch of the West rose up in a burst of flame in Disney? That was one of my favorite rides. I'm so sad it closed. So, while looking at classic films, Christian is so excited to look at it with a queer lens. And he brings on friends like myself to talk about all of these films. I was on the first episode when we discussed The Sound of Music. I've been on an episode of Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. He just released an episode about the Philadelphia story. He's done Meet Me in St. Louis, Sweet Charity, Psycho, Mary Poppins, Hello Dolly. He had on Down the Yellow Brick Road hosts and the Garland Gab hosts to talk about The Wizard of Oz. So make sure that you listen to That Old Gay Classic Cinema on Apple and Spotify and follow him on TikTok and Instagram at That Old Gay Classic Cinema. Okay, start watching the classic movies and make sure you listen to Christian's podcasts.
Thankfully, several people at the park noticed that Issei's suitcases were dripping with blood and contacted the French police, who then arrested him at his apartment shortly after. I mean, thank goodness. Sometimes I argue that maybe we should stay out of each other's business, but in this very specific case and in other cases like it, that's what you should do. Yes, this is an example of when you should call the police. Like that. Oh my god. The fact that he even got in a cab, and I don't know if the taxi driver that took him was one of the people who contacted, but I mean, even if he didn't, like, how did you not notice this? Or the stench, anything? Yeah. Now, when the police asked Issei why he did it, this time he was honest and actually told them, like, how he wanted to eat her. Which, I mean, it doesn't make it any better. It's just, oh my gosh. Now, Issei spent 2 years in a French prison waiting for trial. Judge Jean-Louis Borghieri, maybe, deemed Issei legally insane and unfit to stand trial. The charges against him were dropped, and Issei was ordered to be held in a mental institution indefinitely. During his time in the French mental institution, Issei was visited by Japanese author Inuhiko Yomoto, who had written the novel In the Fog, which is actually based on Issei's account of Renee's murder and the aftermath. Now, this put Issei in the spotlight and gave him a Roxy Hart, like, from Chicago fame, which is disgusting. Not nearly as glamorous or as any, because he does not deserve that, But this kind of partly from some sources that I read said that this led to his deportation back to Japan, but of course to a mental institution. Now, here is where things get fucked. Because not only did France drop the charges against Issei, they also sealed the records. So when he got to the mental hospital in Japan, the physicians found him to be sane, but only suffering from this sexual perversion, that motivated the murder. So even though they were sealed, like, he was still honest about why he was there, so they knew what was going on, which was whatever. But because of this, the law enforcement aspect did not know why he was in a mental institution. And that's where the problem comes in. So, because the doctors found him sane and were like, well, you did the thing that caused it, so maybe as long as we get you okay with your perversions, you'll be fine. So he was able to sign himself out on April 12th, 1986, and live free until his death from pneumonia complications on November 24th, 2022. And before his death, Issei made money off of his crime. He appeared as guest speakers or commentators talking about Renee's murder or his urges. He's written, at least as far as I could tell from the time of this recording and from the sources that I've used, that he has written up to 20 books and disgusting and, like, just sickeningly twisted. He wrote restaurant reviews for a Japan magazine called Spa. I mean, it just is so disgusting. I mean, it's obviously controversial, but it's just disgusting to me how he just continued to exploit Renee's murder over and over and over again for money and, fame. I could see maybe talking about your urges, but the fact that he had to keep, or felt that he needed to keep, Renee's murder and that aspect of his urges a part of everything he talked about to make money is disgusting to me. Like, oh my God. So as far as this case goes, in the words of Caitlyn Jenner, good riddance. Like, the fact that he was able to live a free man just pisses me off so much. I mean, absolutely disgusting. But that is all I have for you this week. I hope you all enjoy this upcoming week. I hope you're all energized and, just ready to take on another work week. So until next time, my loves, I will see you all later.